Okay, hello. So welcome to the Pop Firm 10 times game plan, okay? Or the power of 10. Now, this particular resource here is one that I believe that if you actually take it, hook, line, and sinker, you will go far. You will just simply pass your Pop Firm without wasting a lot of time. So I'm not going to take so much time because I just want to get straight to the point and break down how this actually works. Now, the game plan here is that this simplifies your trading into 10 trades. So there's no guesswork, there's no gambling, just maths, mindset, and mastery. And I'm going to show you exactly how it works. Now, why is this important? This is important because a lot of the time, a lot of people spend time, on your Profirm accounts, trying to pass a Profirm account simply because they don't have a method to how they should, execute a trade. But if you were to know a simple method of just taking 10 trades, okay, and you just need a 50% win rate. So that means if you pass 5, if you win 5, you lose 5, you essentially will be at a good point where you'd have just passed the account. But if you don't have that knowledge, you don't know how much to risk, and you don't also know how to recover in the situation where you're in a break, you're in a drawdown, then you're going to have a lot of issues passing your prop firm account. So here I have the introduction, intellectual property, copyright notice, just for, to ensure that we dot the I's and cross the T's. The philosophy behind the plan, the game plan setup itself, practical scenario breakdown, and the mindset playbook and reset formula. And then we have the conclusion, call to action, and the next steps and power tools for traders. So without further ado, let's go into this. Now, the introduction is this. If passing a prop firm, passing a prop firm challenge can really be stressful and challenging. I take it, of course, from me to have also taken prop firms, and I've also been, at different point in time, I've struggled, with prop firm accounts and all of that. So it's a normal thing that a lot of traders experience, but there can actually be a way to be able to ensure that you pass your prop firm challenges and you also maintain your account, because the same discipline you use to pass the challenges, the same discipline you can also use to maintain your account, right? So there's a logic, there's a structure, and there is predictability to what I'm about, to show you. So that is essentially what is the power of 10 game plan that I'm going to be taking you through today. So it simplifies your challenge into 10 trades, no guesswork, no gambling, just maths, mindset, and mastery. Simple. Okay. So let's get into it. Now, the intellectual property and copyright notice here just highlights, the fact that you have purchased this. So I encourage you not to transfer this to anyone. This also helps to protect your own investment and also protect, the intellectual property of Paruto Capital. A lot of time goes into, preparing things like this. And of course, not just preparing it, but also the idea to put this, into a format like this. So we encourage you, please do not transfer this, and share, your access to anyone else, just to also support, Paruto Capital, the business in your own little way. So if you do that, we'll be very grateful and thank you. All right. Now, the philosophy. So what's the philosophy? The philosophy behind, this game plan. Now, you have to think in tens, okay? You don't need 100 trades to win. You only need 10 discipline trades executed with focus and consistency. And now I'm assuming you already have a strategy that works. If you don't have a strategy that works, then I encourage you to check out the Stock and Profit Trading Mastery course. It will just give you a strategy that works, simply put, okay? But if you already have a strategy that works, then you're at a good place. So the power of 10 game plan is built on 3 core ideas. Number 1, simplicity wins, okay? So fewer high quality trades are performing over trading. Just simplicity. Just think about it. You need to be able to just sit down, visualize, okay? 10 trades, 5 wins, 5 losses. And if you're consistent, you follow the strategy, you're working a strategy, you're not guessing, you're not just trading, emotionally, you're actually following the strategy, you only need 5 wins, okay? We're going to see the breakdown of that. Now, simplicity wins. Now, math over emotion, okay? So math. You're simply just following, what I'm going to be showing you. It's just the math, not your emotions. You're not trading your emotions. Now, when we talk about the 10 trades, that means 10 trades without any emotional trade. Not when you take a loss and then you become emotional, you're trying to recover. No, that doesn't count. So it's part of the 10 trades, okay? So we're talking about 10 trades without any emotional trades coming in between those 10 trades, all right? So if you're going to drawdown, I'm going to show you how you can recover from a drawdown without you being fidgety and, just blowing your account. Now, so math over emotion. So trading success is about probabilities, not perfection. Okay. Now, adaptive risk, longevity, protect capital when losing, press advantage when winning. I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you're going to draw down, how much of your account should you risk? How should you come back up? I'm going to show you exactly that. Now, each power of 10 circle gives you a structured way to focus your energy on only 10 trades at a time. Manage risk with precision, learn quickly through reflection and journaling. So you must also learn to journal, because if you're not journaling, how can you keep a record, of your trade? So at the time of making this video, we're building a trading journaling app, Chatomics. It's in the works. So hopefully when eventually comes into, the marketplace, you'll have access to it. But for now, if you're using whatever system to journal your trade, just make sure you're journaling your trade and also you're reflecting appropriately. So Your mission is turn 10 trades into 10% growth. That is the mission. Now, this is the game plan setup. So here you can see I have, just a second here. So you can see here I have this. Oops. I need to take that out. Let's take that out. Okay. Just a second here. All right. Okay. Thank you. Good. So now let me just use this. So you can see here I have $100,000, okay, account. So we assume that that's a starting balance. And I chose this because it's easy, to just explain this. So assuming the account we're starting with is $100,000. Now our profit target is going to be 10%, okay, which is going to be $10,000. Now our maximum risk per trade, according to the plan, is 1% of our current balance. And then our reduced risk, okay, it's going to be 0.5% if the balance drops below $100,000. Okay, so that's the rule. So we're starting with $100,000 account. Our first trade is going to be 1% of the account. We're going to risk. If it does happen that our first trade, is a losing trade, then we drop down to risking only 0.5% of the current balance. Okay, now that's very important. So we go down to 0.5% of risking the current balance per trade until we come back to the original balance. Now the risk to reward is 1:3 minimum. That's the risk to reward. And then the total count is just 10 trades. So just in 10 trades. And then the goal is to finish 10 trades with at least 10% gain. That is the goal. Now, the adaptive risk model is this. When the balance is greater than or equal to $100,000, you risk 1% per trade. When the balance falls below $100,000, you risk 0.5% per trade. As simple as that. Now, this ensures capital safety during drawdown and stronger compounding during winning streaks. So what that means is your first trade, you want to try as much as you can to ensure that the first trade is a win. So because if that first trade is a win, you simply now can continue to risk 1%. But once you come below your initial balance of $100,000, you then have to drop your risk per trade to 0.5%. Okay, I hope that is very clear. Now you can apply this logic to any capital you're trading. So it's whether it's $10,000, $20,000, $200, and all of that. So just apply the plan. Now, that's it. Let's look at the practical scenario breakdown. So here I have the win rate, okay? So what happens depending or, what happens to your account balance or your profit has linked, to your win rate, okay? We'll link that to your win rate or just link that to your win rate essentially. So if you have a win rate of 40%, that simply means, maybe 4 wins, 6 losses, 10 trades, 4 wins, 6 losses. That would mean that you have an ending balance of 108 and then your profit will be 8,000 and your percentage will be 8% gain. And you will close nearly close to the 10% goal, right? Or target. Now, if you have a 50% win rate, that means 5 losses, 5 wins, you'll end up with 115,000. You make $15,000, you make 15%, and you would have passed your challenge. And then it goes higher like that. If you have a 60% win rate, 70% win rate, 80% win rate, you'll be able to even make more. All right. So I hope this is very clear. And this is very practical. And you can see here, our risk to reward is not some, fictitious 1 to 10, 1 to 15. No, we're very deliberate. 1 to 3. Just stick to it. If you stick to it, you see, the real secret behind the plan here is that you stick to the risk to reward. If you stick to it and you're not emotional, then this can become your reality. So even a 50% win rate, you pass the challenge comfortably, right? Because you're making 15%, $15,000, that's above the 10% required of you to pass the challenge. Now, I also have here, the breakdown of a 50% win rate trade example. So we have trade 1 all the way to trade 10. So let's assume the first trade is a win. You risk 1%, you make 3%. That's 103,000. The second trade you lost 1%, and your balance reduces or comes down to 102,000%. Now you're still above 100,000. So you're not dropping your risk to 0.5 because you're still above 100,000. However, if you were to drop below 100,000, that means you took most likely 3 trades back to back that ended up as a loss, which should not be if you actually are not trading emotionally and you have a working strategy and working system. It shouldn't be really, okay? And you're patient to wait for the right trade setup because this would only work if you take the A+ setup. That means the trades that meet all of the confluences, based on the strategy that you trade, okay? So if it's the stock and profit, trading strategy, for example, you want to look out for inducement, you want to look out for the bias of the market on the 4-hour and also the lower time frame, the align in terms of the bias of the market. You also want to look out for, either break of structure, demand zone with an inducement in front of it, or a breaker block with an inducement in front of it. You also want to look at the time and price. So, London session open, New York session open, you look at all of those confluences to ensure that is an A+ setup before you execute. So if that is the case, then this is absolutely reality, sincerely. Then, if you win the next trade, you end up with making 3%, you're back 105. You lose the next trade, down 1%, back to 104. You win the next one, 1% up, sorry, 3% up rather, and you're back to 107. You lose the next trade, you're down minus 1%, and you're back to 106. You win the next trade. So this basically simulation here just sort of, assumes that you're winning, you're losing, you're winning, you're losing. But realistically, sometimes you may win 2 trades in a row. You may lose 2 trades in a row. I don't expect you to lose 3 trades in a row, but sometimes it can also happen, right? But if you look at, the wins and the losses and the wins and the losses, depending on how they are stacked, you can, as a matter of fact, even get to your 10% well ahead of the 10 trades. Okay. So because you can see here, for example, you have 107 at trade 5. Assuming the next trade is a win, that's trade 6. You've already passed the challenge because you only need 3,000 and that's already 110,000, right? So with 6 trades, you can actually pass the challenge. That's how interesting this is. But this is just, to give you the idea or to give you that understanding that it is possible if you have a method and you actually administer that method in the market. So by the time you go through the 10 trades, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, by trade 10, you would have already hit 110,000, okay, which is just going to be on the mark. So 110,000 by the time you hit, trade 10, okay, and you'll pass your challenge. Now, most challenges these days is 8%. It's not even up to 10%, which is also nice. So, but this just gives you an idea, just for you to understand that this is possible if you have a method to the madness of the market. All right. Now, the mindset playbook and reset formula is this: 5 principles, trade in series, not in isolation. Every trade is one chapter in your 10 trade story. So don't judge your system after one loss. That's very important. Now, protect capital at all costs. If you go below the start balance, I've said this before, reduce risk automatically to 0.5%. Now, wait for A+ setups. This is also very important. Do not enter trades just based on emotions and you're not sure, you don't see the confluences you need to see. Only take A+ setups. Now, you only have 10 trades. Make every entry worth it. Now, also focus on ARR multiples, not dollars. So you're not focused on, I made 3,000, I made, this amount of money, I lost this amount of money. No. Be focused on how many hours did you make. I made 3 hours because I'm going for 1 to 3. I made 3 hours. I lost 1 hour. So be focused on the ARR multiples. Okay. It helps you to detach from the money and also reduce pressure. Now, you stay emotionally neutral. A win or a loss doesn't define you. Following the plan really does. So that you took a loss today doesn't necessarily define your trading skill. What defines your trading skill is that did you follow the plan? If you did not follow the plan, that's what defines your trading skill. That means you're reckless. But if you follow the plan, then you're good. All right. Whether it's a win or a loss, it doesn't matter. Now, continuing still on that. So here we have the reset formula. So the reset formula basically just says if you lose focus or deviate, deviate from the plan, you must stop trading immediately. You must review your last 3 trades. You identify which rule was broken and restart a fresh power of 10 cycle. You must learn to reflect and also reset. This is very important for you to really succeed in this. Now, as we conclude, the power of 10 promises this. If you follow this plan with a minimum 1 to 3 risks to reward, a consistent 50% win rate or better, and proper emotional discipline, you will pass your prop firm challenge in as few as 10 trades, safely, stress-free, and systematically. Okay. Now, 10 trades, 1 plan, 1 infinite possibilities. That's the truth. Okay. Now, this can be applied to any type of account: $10,000 account, $25,000 account, $50,000 account, $100,000 account. The power of 10 game plan scales perfectly because discipline is universal. And I want to tell you something. If you're able to do this, because this is something that is universal, you can apply this to even your funded account, whatever account you trade. If you follow this, this is absolutely going to be a game changer for you. All right. So what are the next steps? The next steps, of course, is if you're not part of the mastermind, you can join the mastermind. You can just click this and it will take you there. There's also the trading mastery and strategy course. If you haven't taken that and you want to learn exactly our strategy, you can take the course. And then you have the $1 million blueprint. This one is basically a blueprint that shows you how you can go from like $50 starting balance in a week, to grow into a level at level 7, where you can now be earning about 1 million plus per month, which is possible. So it's a game plan on how to grow from $50 weekly to a 7-figure monthly profit. So this is possible. And that blueprint shows you exactly how the breakdown and everything you need to know. All right. So that is it. I want to believe you've actually learned something from this. I leave you with this quote: passing the challenge is just the beginning. The same discipline that gets you funded will keep you profitable. All right. So with that, I leave you until we see next time. Stay stuck in profit and enjoy. Bye-bye.